On October 14, 1946, the Bell X-1, a tiny, almost rocket-like plane, was dropped from a massive B-29. Captain Chuck Yeager ignited the X-1 engine and broke the sound barrier, making him the first person to move beyond the speed of sound. The sound barrier is the rate at which sound can move. The term sound barrier was coined over 70 years ago, when approaching the speed of sound caused airplanes to respond in unexpected ways. Is the sound barrier a solid, unmoving barrier? Spoiler, it's not. Can you surpass the speed of sound? Keep watching to find out. However, what precisely is a sound barrier? As you might expect, the speed of sound varies depending on the type of medium it is traveling through. It moves more quickly through liquids and more slowly through gases. So the speed of sound is not a set value. As a result, the speed of sound is not a constant. Today we understand that the sound barrier, commonly referred to as Mach 1, is the abrupt boost in aerodynamic drag that occurs as an object approaches the speed of sound. The Mach number is calculated by dividing the object's speed by the sound speed. Mach 3 denotes a speed that is 3 times that of sound. At sea level and at a temperature of 20 degrees, the speed of sound in air is 767 miles per hour. That's super fast. Not very long ago, people thought the sound barrier was an actual, although invisible, physical boundary. And before Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier, it was widely believed that going faster than the speed of sound would cause an aircraft to crash. Why? Use an airplane as an example. Undoubtedly, a jet creates a lot of noise. An airplane's sound waves go all around it, sideways as well as forward and backward. The aircraft accelerates and begins to overtake its waves. The waves begin to build up whenever the plane's speed approaches that of the sound waves it generates. This causes the air pressure and drag to rise, which makes additional acceleration more challenging. To push through the so-called speed barrier and past the sound waves, a specific aircraft design and flying style are required. Of course, Concorde is a well-known airplane. It could travel at speeds exceeding double the speed of sound, reducing London to New York trips to under 3 hours. However, flying supersonic produces a sonic boom. You may have heard the extremely loud boom that a military jet makes when it passes by, which may sometimes even be uncomfortable. Additionally, air density shifts become more noticeable at supersonic speeds, whereas local air density varies very slightly at subsonic speeds. Since many nations, including the US, forbid supersonic flying over land, this enormous noise has been a serious obstacle for supersonic aircraft. The sound that is made as the airplane actually exceeds the barrier is not merely an immediate noise. After going faster than the speed of sound, it keeps going while following the airplane. Although the cone of shockwaves compresses as speed rises, the effect on the Earth remains. Of course, it's not just an aircraft that can hit a sonic boom. Other types of objects can also breach the sound barrier and produce a sonic boom. However, did you know you could travel at supersonic speeds? All you have to do is let yourself fall freely from the edge of space. How tall? Let's say 120,000 feet then. And we know that's feasible because some daredevils have done it. When you get to the height of 120,000 feet on the edge of space, the air is so thin that a falling human body would move faster than the speed of sound. A skydiver might theoretically leap from that height and, approximately 30 seconds later, break through the sound barrier without the help of an airplane or space shuttle, if properly outfitted with a pressurized suit and a supply of oxygen to guard against a hostile environment. Massive pressure might knock the daring skydiver out cold, tear the flesh from his body, or merely induce a light-hearted wobble in the stomach. Nobody knew what would have happened at the time, but thankfully for us, it happened a while ago, so we have all the details. Felix Baumgartner, a supersonic skydiver, descended from a height of 24 miles faster than he or anybody else anticipated. He was able to hit 843.6 miles per hour. How cool is that? That is comparable to 1.25 times the speed of sound, or Mach 1.25. His highest speed was first calculated to be 834 miles per hour, or Mach 1.24. In any case, he was the first person to do it using only their bodies. Baumgartner maintained supersonic speed for a half minute, which was very impressive, while maintaining a heart rate of around 185 beats per minute and relatively stable breathing. The jump took place from a height of 127,852 feet. It was pretty amazing and such a huge deal that almost 52 million people watched YouTube's live video of the exploit. It's like swimming without touching the water, and it's difficult because you have to figure out what to do every time it flips you around. So I stuck my arm out, and it became worse, he explained. I was under a lot of stress, but I didn't feel like I was about to pass out. Baumgartner was falling so fast during the free fall that the infrared camera following him could hardly see him. He was spinning out of control for 35 seconds during the fall, which his crew thought may have made him pass out. And because it happened so quickly to him, he was unable to express his feelings at the moment. Yet this is very different for an aircraft. First, can supersonic jet pilots hear their engines when they break the sound barrier? When a supersonic jet crosses the sound barrier, the humming of the engines can still be heard by the pilots as long as the sound is carried by air within the jet. However, they are unable to hear noises coming from the outside. The air surrounding them, as well as their pilots, is fixed in relation to the plane, so the passengers may also hear sounds within the cabin. As the air surrounding them and the pilots were static in relation to the plane, the passengers could also hear sounds within the cabin. So what happens when an aircraft breaks supersonic speed? When traveling at supersonic speeds, the air will be caught off guard because, just when everything seems quiet and peaceful, an unknown invader will abruptly start kicking the air molecules around. Because pressure varies abruptly as a result of a shock rather than a smooth transition, at supersonic speed, there are zones of identical pressure followed by quick dips or jumps. As a result, the center of pressure shifts backward to 50% of the chord. If the center of gravity stays at a quarter chord, the aircraft will nosedive due to a significant pitch-down moment. To complicate matters even more, a control surface displacement that could redistribute lift between the wing and tail surface may not perform as well as it might at subsonic speed. The aircraft may become uncontrollable. The key today is to offer the air some early warning where it matters, even if the airplane is traveling at supersonic speeds. Wing sweep can help with this since the air traveling over the wing will be forewarned and respond similarly to subsonic flow if the sweep angle is greater than the cone angle at which pressure changes would propagate at supersonic flying speed. For supersonic aircraft, the tail surfaces are larger and fully flying, allowing them to operate in both transonic and supersonic flow to compensate for the unavoidable change in the center of pressure. The sonic boom shift in pressure can be quite harmful. Shock waves from airplanes have been observed to shatter building windows. Can you reach supersonic speeds without shattering the sound barrier, though? Yes, it is technically possible to travel faster than the speed of sound without experiencing a sonic boom. So this can only occur when wind and atmospheric conditions result in a greater ground speed. As we've explained several times in the video, the sonic boom is really caused by moving quickly through the air. Let's imagine you can obtain an aircraft that has a 200 mile per hour tailwind and a top speed of 600 mile per hour. You would be able to exceed the speed of sound, but only in relation to the ground, not the air. We can even find examples of this. First, let's have a look at a Virgin Atlantic flight from 2019, which recorded the highest non-supersonic aircraft speed ever while benefiting from a tailwind. Similar to this, British Airways used a Boeing 747 to perform the fastest subsonic transatlantic trip to date in 2020 by taking advantage of a tailwind during Storm Kira.